Welcome to a world where design shapes how we live. I am Colette Angelucci. On Designers Exchange, we step inside the minds of designers, estate agents, property developers, and luxury brands shaping beautiful living. We begin with their story, where they come from, what shaped them, and what they've built. This is where inspiration lives. Donald.
Hello.
I am so grateful that you're doing my talk show with me.
Yes, and I'm happy you've got a talk show because, like I said to you when I came in, when I arrived, you were already here, and we would meet at Decorex and all these places, and it's always been such a pleasure to connect. And so, I'm happy that the conversation is now official.
Official. Now we can have an official conversation.
Yeah.
So there's a lot I want to say to you today. But first of all, when did you start?
When did I start?
You started with the private property competition, am I correct?
You know, I think where did I start was before that. And I think, we can go into what luck is. And yes, I won a reality show and I felt quite lucky to have been on TV, and that's why I entered it. It was an opportunity. Let's rewind. This was 2014. And Stain City was launching itself. This is like it's now a mega estate. I was there last week and the trees are so high, but when I first drove into Stain City, they didn't even have biometrics and any of these things. Like, you just basically showed your ID and they let you through. And I remember in one of the episodes in the competition, a taxi dropped me off at the actual gate. And it's things that you can't do now. But I had worked for about 4 years prior to entering the competition. So the competition was basically, they were looking for a new design star. And I remember the tagline, not the tagline, but are you the next best, the next big thing?
Yes.
And a friend of mine sent it to me. And initially you don't think that you'd ever win. I'd never won anything except for a pack of flip files in high school. So I'm not lucky like that. You have to be, there's some people who are lucky, they've always had that luck. But entering a reality show was really stepping into, wow, could I actually be this person? And so we had about 8 episodes and 4 designers each week creating a different space in the home. And we had mentors. And so we had people like Stephen Falk. I had Evelyn Brody from Head Interiors, so really the Head Interiors. So really the titans of the industry at the time. And you'd get to spend 8 weeks on TV. It would be flighted after top billing. So really prime real estate on TV, a really prime slot. Great presenters like Maps Maponyane, Cindy Nell. I mean, you gotta start somewhere,
No, absolutely. But I have to tell you something, that I don't think it was luck. You really are talented.
Thank you.
And on that, you are one of the most humble people I have ever met. You've got the most beautiful personality. You are so humble and so talented. Like Donald, I don't think I've ever looked at any of your pictures where I wasn't overwhelmed with such a deep appreciation for how you put fabrics and everything together, creating your spaces for your clients. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So yes, that title was well deserved.
Thank you.
Honestly, well deserved.
It was the definition of luck is preparation meets opportunity. I did feel stepping in front of the camera and stepping into that competition that I was ready. I knew my eyelet from my pinch pleat. I knew my linen from my velvet. I knew my cotton from my, organza. I knew different types of carpet sizes, durability, wrap counts. I did feel ready. And so when I did win, I already had a plan in place. With the money, I knew what I was gonna do with it. I knew I was gonna open my own office. and I was going to print business cards.
My print business
cards. Said you were in business.
Like a business
card. Like, there you go, and you shake people's hands and like you give them your card. And I just wanted that moment. And my biggest dream was to move into Kramerville. And so I went to people I had always worked with in some projects, and they sold wallpapers, Sam and Taryn of Sassy Wallpapers, and I went to them and I said, I really need an office. I've just won this competition. People are phoning me and I can't tell them I'm working from my bedroom, because that is the story many of us.
Oh, in your pajamas.
In your pajamas.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but in my head, I could work from my bedroom, and I was working from my bedroom, but I wanted to transition. I felt like there was a shift in my life. I could feel it, like I needed to move.
Like the time was right to do it.
Yeah, and so I knew I had that potential, and I just needed like that kinetic energy. I just needed to move, right? And so I went to them and I said, can I please have just I knew they had a storeroom, and it was big, and all they did in that storeroom was store wallpapers. So I said, could I have just a tiny part of it? So I went to, and they said yes. And then they made me sign a contract, and my rent was 1.5 ex VAT. Oh, it was like per month. That was like a lot of money. But I had some savings, right? Because I won, part of the competition prize was 150,000 Rand, which I thought the bank would freeze my account. I'd never seen so much money.
Where did you get it?
And I thought it was going to be like, SARS was going to call and freeze the account. It was just like, what the hell, right? I'm 24. So I took some of that money, I put it into my rent, I bought a printer, I called Telkom, and the next thing Taryn and Sam knew is I was connecting my own Telkom line in a storeroom, right? And my carpenter made me a desk, very small desk, which I think I still have. And the only thing I regret is that I didn't take pictures of that, moment where I was in a storeroom, like really the size of this carpet.
I remember your space.
Yeah,
I remember your office.
Yeah. And so in front of it was, then Taryn and Sam decided to create a furniture. I mean, they already had like a furniture range using pallet furniture. So that was in front of my office space. And then one day they said to me, Donald, this front space is available if you wanted to take it. So I went back to my carpenter and I said, hey, there's this opportunity. Let's create some furniture pieces and put it there. We're in Kramerville, so there's some foot traffic, and therefore maybe we can advertise the furniture and I could have an office and a showroom, right? So we joked that we went from the storeroom to the showroom, and then that's how it grew. Of course, along with that was the added expenses of the rent and getting a PA. But I felt that I was growing and was like the right decision. So from the reality show to the storeroom to the showroom, that's basically how, in the space of like 2 years, that's what I did.
I just knew, I remember watching that show and I just looked at you and I thought, yeah, you've got it. And I got actually, so, when you really find interest in somebody's design, I just couldn't stop. So I started checking everything out and following you and liking everything and becoming you are such a big inspiration.
Thank you. I sometimes I'm so humbled that people, by doing what you do or by doing what I do, that people find inspiration in it. And sometimes it's just so heartwarming, because sometimes it comes from far off places, like someone studying design in Malaysia saying, hi, can you send me this thing? I'm doing an assignment on you. Or the other day, somebody was doing it from India and the United States. And I think of myself, yes, so it got me to thinking of myself more of a global designer than just a designer working in Johannesburg, right? So thinking about Johannesburg as a capital city in the world, and I'm a designer of one capital city. And so I can never get used to it, and maybe that's what keeps it endearing to still work with a designer that's still excited for opportunities. But when a client calls me and it's a really fantastic opportunity and it's a really great brief, I still get wow, you thought of me? Really, not in the most simplest of ways, I'm still excited to work and to be given amazing opportunities that sometimes feels like it's tailored for me. I would look at a brief, I'm like, oh, were they sitting down thinking about me?
I'm glad you said that, because it was one of my questions. And to hear that you also still get excited about projects. And I think this is just another point where it shows your pure humbleness in your heart that is really just, it's such an amazing character of you as a human being.
At the heart of it is people and being truly attuned to their story. We just do it with fabrics and furniture and spaces, and taking these spaces and giving them something to look forward to when they come home from a really stressful day. But at the heart of it is people, storytelling, and it's about reflecting who the client is in every single aspect of, like, nothing in a room should be not about the client. And so I see myself as a vessel and not necessarily as this designer who's coming in and I'm gonna give you style. I think everybody has style and essence just in their own way, and you basically as a designer get to pull that out and show them and have them meet themselves in a physical realm that is a room. Isn't that amazing? I like to have my work have a sense of simplicity and sophistication. So I don't think about it as excavating for a client story. It's already there. If you pay attention, it's there, And yeah, it's there, it's there. It's like when we talk about when a client says, oh, I really like art, but I'm not sure what type of art. I found that in my work, a lot of people sometimes, like not a lot, there are clients I've met who were so poor, right, that they don't have pictures of their grandparents because no one ever took a picture of them. So through commissioning portraiture, we're able to symbolize or to have on walls or through charcoal or oil paintings or even drawings, a version of who their grandparents could have been or the essence of them. And so you're then also maybe telling their story through that. They don't have the physical picture to say, that's my grandfather. But as a designer, you come up with different ways to imbue their lives with the symbolism that has carried them, because perhaps their grandparents were their inspiration. So we are paid or called to be attuned to our clients, their needs, but to also anticipate the stories that they might want to tell.
Tell me about Little Donald.
I come from Pretoria. So I was born in Soshanguve. My father was a post office man. I'm actually doing a coffee table book and doing it and asking them, sitting down with them to tell me about themselves has been a cathartic experience, because I got to experience that the Donald sitting right here wasn't by mistake. It was because people's actions, or my father and my mother, made very deliberate decisions to put us in the best possible outcome. It's almost like if we were sheep, they got to choose where we pasture. Right? So I grew up in a space where my parents just let us be ourselves. My father worked for the post office. He started off as a mailman. He first started off as a garden boy. They called garden boys. Yeah, that's what it was. I mean, sometimes the term garden boy, not sometimes, it's actually quite a derogatory term. I think so, because you're sometimes talking about a 40-year-old man. But my father's 19 and he's doing gardens because he needed to, support his mother and his siblings.
So he was also, a little bit creative.
Yes, he was. My dad is creative. I think he would have been an architect. Yeah, which is maybe a good thing he didn't, because he would have maybe forced me to.
Or maybe he would have changed your design.
Yeah, he would have tried to change my mind, like, oh, you don't want to do that. So that's what he did. And then when he was 20 years old, he got an opportunity to be a mailman. So he tells me about cycling through Montana, cycling through Wonderboom, cycling, and the dogs barking. And then...
because the dogs didn't like the mailman.
They didn't like the mailman. And
no, they didn't. I remember.
Yeah, and then he got his driver's license, and then he got a bike. I've got a picture of him on a red bike, like this bright red bike. right?
Postman vibe.
Postman. He was an actual postman, delivering messages every single day. My mother was a housewife for as long as I remember, and I mean, tough job.
Tough job,
Tough
but
job.
so blessed.
Yes.
Because to be with the kids.
Exactly. And then my dad then became one of the first Black people at the post office to sell stamps. So he went behind the counter. And he jokes, he says, you know, some people just walked past him and went to another counter to pay their TV licenses and buy stamps because they could, like, in their minds, maybe they couldn't think that a Black man could like count and give them stamps, but that was the beginning of the change to the new South Africa. And so he was one of those faces and then in the front line of that change, and it wasn't nice, you know, but there were rewarding moments because he did get opportunities to study further and ultimately better himself, and with that bettered our circumstances as a family. So we moved out of Soshanguve and we went to the CBD in Pretoria, and I went to one of those Model C schools where, you know, I could swim, I had art, and suddenly I had teachers who said, hey, wait a minute, there's something here, right? Then I could then express creativity. I love to paint, I love to swim, I love to write, I love to read poetry, and all of that was encouraged and it was emphasized.
And how strange that I'm sure you're still using all of that in today.
Yes, yes,
Design.
like this. It's just learning how to, when you do poetry, you're reading other people's thoughts and you color the world with words. And then I went to color the worlds with crayons and paint. And so being able to express ultimately led to me being able to articulate. So I can articulate myself with my words and I can articulate myself on paper with my hand using drawings. And that's the essence of what design is being able to articulate and deliver your message. And that was where it began, being given those tools. Yeah. And I wasn't particularly, I wasn't like one of those A+ students, but one day my school teacher gave me a letter and I was invited to what they call the Club, the Masterminds Clubs. And they said that your kid is creative, possesses above average creativity or intelligence. I can't remember what the wording is. I still have the letter. And I'm not sure what my parents made of that because, you know, like they were also new to this world, right? And so I think that's when they kind of saw that, oh, Donald was creative and was this way inclined, and maybe we need to support and encourage it. But even then, they still hoped I'd be a doctor.
I'm sure they don't at this stage.
No, not today, but back then, I remember, yeah, but I do remember, like, you know, when you have to choose your subjects in high school, my dad said, and science. So I took science for like the first term, and then the second term, like, I forged his signature, and I wrote to the principal, like, Donald will do history now. So I did history, because I love to read and I love, if you know, I could draw, so I could forge that signature really well.
So what does a typical design day look like for you?
In the beginning, maybe let's start in the beginning. In the beginning, it looked like a very frustrated Donald, a Donald constantly on edge, worried about money, clients who were disappointed, who loved the mood board, but the furniture wasn't arriving on time, right? Or there was a quality issue, or worried about rent, or worried about wages or salaries, worried about paying supplier invoices on time, in addition to having my own life challenges, right? And so I found that as a designer, I had to just marry, for me, who I am. I'm a personality-led brand, so people cannot separate designer Donald and Donald. I had to sit down with myself and do a lot of introspection about what am I really good at and what am I not so great at. And the things that I needed to be, I realized that I didn't need to be good at everything. right?
I wonder why we put ourselves through it. Because it's, and then you want to hit yourself because you're not good in admin.
Admin, you're not great at HR, you're not great at firing, you're not great at hiring. Like I was, you know, it was dismal, you know, like I wanted to hire the best, but I just didn't have that skill set. So I sat down with myself and say, what can I really be good at? You know, what am I good at? And I realized I was good with people, right? And I didn't need to know how to put together a spreadsheet. I just needed to meet with my client, tell them or collaborate with them on their home, take it back to the office and let somebody else do the spreadsheet. So you need to have self-awareness. So if you ask me, what do I do when I get to the office now at the studio, I have a team around me that supports me, that I'm blessed to come to work and do the creative work.
And that's why a company becomes successful, is when you can focus on what you're good at.
Focus on what you're good at. So I don't get into the weeds. So, and maybe the past 5 years, I've been able to go on holiday or sometimes holidays because it can run on its own. There's somebody doing the finance, there's somebody doing the project management, there's somebody doing refining the design for me, because some of my ideas can be like that. And I sometimes call them the how can we team. So instead of the no team, they move from being the no team to being the how can we team. So I'll present an ideas and they just figure out how to get it done. And don't we all want to be there? I feel very grateful that I get to do that and I get to work with the best clients. So sometimes, like 2 weeks ago, I met with a hotshot lawyer in the morning doing a historical property in Westcliff, Joburg. And then I met with a cardiologist, like a pediatric cardiologist later on. You know? And then I get to meet my designer. You know, like it's beautiful. It really is beautiful to work at the Apex and meet people who are so passionate about what it is they do, right? So you're meeting like the lawyers or the advocates working on the best cases in South Africa. You're meeting business people who are doing really cool stuff in South Africa and people who are making an impact. And I get to work with these people. That's crazy. And so it allows me to focus on them and do a proper job and have my team figure out the rest. And I couldn't be here without my team. I mean, they take so many hits for me. And I love my team so much because they are sometimes so overly protective of the creativity. Like they will say, Donald's not dealing with that because they want to keep me there. And so what are the things that can destroy a designer's creativity? Money, stress.
And issues,
right?
Some issues.
Yeah. The issues that create the stress. And so you aren't able to even concentrate or think of joyous things when you're worried about those things. So I always protect the creativity. That comes before. That even comes before keeping Donald healthy and keeping Donald out of the weeds helps us stay where we are, because it's the creativity and the picture that clients see, right? That's what they come for. They come for that sensation of feeling like they are in a very creative space. And so that is what I preserve and protect.
So Donald, I think one of the most, exciting for me questions I have for you is your international projects.
Yes.
Oh, I need to know all about it.
Can I tell you something so crazy? I got invited by Romo, South Africa, to go visit Romo, is it Nottingham? It's in Nottingham. And we arrived in London. This is 7. So if the flight lands at 5 a.m. and then we got to the hotel around 7. The rooms weren't ready. We could only check in at about 11 a.m. And so we went to the Romo showroom, and in that showroom, I saw the most beautiful woman, right? And she was looking at me, and I thought, okay, it's just, beautiful people looking at each other. And then I went back to the hotel, I looked at my phone and she had sent me a message and she said, Donald, was that you? And this woman a year prior had sent me a message saying, hey, do you work in the UK? Can you come to London to do my house? And I said, yeah, I might be there in like 3 months' time. The first time I get to London, in that moment, she's there, crazy. And now, 2 years later, we're about to complete her house. It's in a place called Ascot, Windsor. Like, I remember like driving, like the driver, I was driving through this area, get to her house, and she says, Donald, did you see Windsor Castle? And then I realized the big thing that I saw was actually Windsor Castle. And then again, you know, similar to winning the competition, I felt like, oh, okay, that moment has come where you step up again. And so it's been fun to work in London, to work with the best joinery companies in the world. The way they do joinery is just meticulous. It's just magnificent. But also learning how to work in a different currency, how to quote in a different currency, when to quote.
Yeah, because it's different. I mean, it's different. Everything is different.
It is different. And also, like, there's a fascination. Okay, there's like, they get an email from like Donald Nxumalo. You know, it's like, how do you say this? But also, I think the people that I've worked with have been absolutely amazing. And working with like Romo, that's got obviously a footprint in South Africa. I was able to like spec Romo in the UK, working with the curtain makers over there, delivery people, and all the while doing it from here. You know, and we got to send furniture from South Africa over to the UK. So learning about the different timelines in terms of when the project gets there, how to that all the woods needs to be fumigated, those things. I mean,
and there's a lot of little things that you don't realize.
Yeah, but I was excited to learn because every day was something new that you got to learn. Yeah.
And I think the next international project, everything just goes smoother because you're just so into it.
Yeah. I do a lot of work in Zambia and in Zim. I've done quite a bit in Nairobi, Uganda. So those are that I can do with my eyes closed. Well, not my eyes closed, my teeth. Like, I know how to design it. And then we've got a whole system of, okay, so after the finisher gets ready, we have a packing list. It gets sent to the freighting company. We invoice, and they need to send us back the tax clearance, so that because all these are done, the cross-border transactions are done ex-VAT, but you do need to be compliant. So it is about having the right documentation. And half of success, I'll tell you, is compliance, and it's documentation and having your papers in order, your tax clearances, your a valid bank account, you know, things like that. And so, like for instance, when the furniture arrives in Zambia, it gets offloaded, checked, the things that are broken, what can we do? Do we wrap it? You know, because sometimes the roads aren't great. So you find yourself having to crate certain items more carefully, like mirrors, and it does cost more to crate items, but it's well worth the effort when it gets to the other side and the client's value for what they've spent is realized. It doesn't have a scratch. We've had our fair share of scratches and broken items to know what we can compromise on and what we are absolutely non-negotiables when it comes to freighting.
Who was your most famous client?
It would have been like at the time, Black Coffee, you know, and to see him now and he's like filling up amphitheaters and stadiums. I was like, wow, I was in the room as that man. Sure. And seeing someone doing work at the highest level, he's done so well. I mean, private jets, and I see there was a private jet with his face on it. It's just like, wow, from South Africa. You know?
But he's also, I must tell you, he's got such a humbleness about him.
I think, you know, when I see him, I see what's possible, and he's got such an international flair about him, just in terms of how he carries himself, his professionalism, but also his sense of style and flair. You can see he's got a really good team together. And so you can see that it's not a mistake. The success at that level is not a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's deliberate. So I studied with Lizette. We were in the same class in varsity, And then one day I bumped into her at Rosebank, and she was doing project management. And I think at the time they were busy with like the Armani store, but in Rosebank they were busy with something to do with Edgar's. And then she was working at, this is maybe 7 p.m. And when you do shop fitting for malls, you're working through the night. And I could tell she's exhausted. That's it. And I was exhausted and burnt out because I didn't have great project management, because I didn't know that with design, it's not enough to just have a great design. It has to be implemented, and implemented the way that you and the client have discussed. So that was really the first conversations I had with myself around what it is I'm lacking and who can help me. And so she said she's great with project management, so that's how she came. And we've grown together. So, you know, up to a point where, I mean, she's even studied project management with UCT. And so there's many, and in that, I think what you need to take out is that there's many ways to be a designer. Right. There are people who are great at technical drawings. There are people who are great at project management. There are people who are great at fabrics and being decorators, even though they have studied interior design. And there are people who are so great with client relations. And there are people who are amazingly talented at doing other things. There's more to interior design than just being the face of it. I'm just one aspect of the business, but the other people have also become experts. And so when I hire people now, I hire experts. And it's because Lizette and I sat down and we decided that, you know, I think the way that we are gonna get the company to the next level is for people to have very certain and sure roles and to become experts at that. So if you're an expert at things, like, would love to hear from you. But shout out to Lizette.
What is your favorite room to decorate?
It has to be the bedroom. For me, bedrooms are a cocoon, and I want people to walk into any bedroom that I've done and to feel this embrace. I want it to be a hug. And if you're looking at a picture of any or one of my bedrooms, I feel like I want you to feel like you can just climb into that bed and cocoon yourself and to be wholly and completely embraced. So I love using the best linen, the best fabrics, anything that touches your body. I want it to be the very best in the world.
Donald, thank you so much.
You're most welcome. This was fun. Is it over?
Really?
So now I have to go back to work.
But we'll do this again. We'll definitely need to follow up.
We'll need to follow up.
I've got 7 pages of questions that we didn't get to. So definitely season 2.
Season 2.
If you've enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, I'm your host, Colette Angelucci, and this is Designers Exchange.